Hi there, I'm Rosi Sexton. I was a professional mixed martial arts fighter for 12 years. I was the first British woman to fight in the UFC. And at one point I was the #1 ranked female flyweight in the world. These days I work as an osteopath and I specialise in combat sports injuries, as you might imagine. So one thing I want to talk about today is neck injuries, because this is a subject that's really close to my heart. I've got a personal history with that. When I was training to fight in the UFC back in 2013, I picked up quite a nasty neck injury. It later turned out I had 2 prolapse discs in my neck, C5-6 and C6-7. And at one stage I was looking at getting surgery on this. In the end we decided to go down the rehab route, and touch wood, so far everything seems to be working all right. But it's made me really think about how we train and what we do with necks, and whether there's anything that we could be doing differently in order to reduce the damage we're putting through our neck, reduce the problems people are getting. And I mean, this is something I see all the time in my clinic. I have a lot of people come in with neck injuries, either sort of that are built up over time while they've been involved in grappling, in jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, wrestling, or as a result of a particular accident. So they've maybe shot him for a takedown, they've got a sudden pain in the neck, pain shooting down the arm, and sort of problems as a result of that. So that's something that I see an awful lot of. And like I say, it's got me thinking about how we can manage this better. And one of the things that I've been looking at is what people typically do for neck conditioning. So things that I see in gyms all the time, I see a lot of people doing neck bridging type exercises. So we're putting a lot of weight through the head, maybe sort of arching back, stacking the weight down through the neck in that extended position. And now I'm not going to say that you should never do this, because for some people it works okay. You know, some people get away with it, but I think it's a very high risk method of getting benefits, and I think there are better ways of doing things. So over the last few years, really, I've started putting together sort of my ideas about how we can go about strengthening the neck in a way that's going to be both effective, it's going to improve people's performance, reduce their risk of injury, and it's going to be safe as well. So we're not going to see those problems that are often developing at the moment. And I'd like to share a little bit of that with you. So when we're working the neck, we want to make sure that we're working the muscles on both sides of the joint. So we're working the muscles on the back, which we'll get to, but we're also working these muscles on the front. So there's some deep muscles that sit right on the front of your spinal column, and they're the ones that will protect your neck in the event of a collision, or if you're punched in the head, something like that. We need those muscles to be working. So I'm going to show you how to get those engaged and how to train them. So when I start people doing this exercise, I have them lying flat either on a mat or on a bench, and the head's touching the back of the head is touching the bench. And what I get them to do is pull the chin towards the chest while keeping the head touching the couch. And you're just going to hold that. And you can hold that for around 10 seconds or so. We can do a couple of reps. Now, most people find that relatively easy. That's not a tough exercise. That's just identifying the correct muscles. So to make this harder, what I'll then get them to do is to move back on their bench so the head is unsupported, and now they're going to hold that chin tuck. And again, you want your head in a straight line with your body here. So I'm not lifting my head up, and the one thing I particularly want to be careful of is that my chin isn't poking forwards, because that's involving a whole other different group of muscles that we don't want to be focusing on right now. So I'm just going to hold that position, and I can build up to holding that for 20 to 30 seconds. If I can do 30 seconds and it's relatively easy, then I need to make the exercise harder. I'll show you some ways of doing that in a minute. just going to hold that position. Okay. And then when I finish, I just scoot forward so I can rest my head again. So I like to combine that exercise with another one that works the extensors on the back of the neck. And this is a nice alternative to some of those bridging exercises that put the neck into an extended position that can sometimes cause problems. So with this one, I'm going to put the back of my head on the bench. I'm just going to plant my feet and then just lift my hips up. So here I'm keeping my spine in more or less a neutral position. It's slightly extended. But what I don't want is my shoulders to start sagging. Okay. If I can hold this for 20 to 30 seconds and it's really easy, then I need to start thinking about making the exercise harder. I can add a weight here, or I can even add something else to do, like a light press or something like that. There's lots of variations there. But that's a really good way of getting those extensors engaged. And again, it's a nice safe position. Obviously, if you get any pain when you're doing any of these, then stop immediately. Get someone to take a look at that properly for you. These shouldn't be painful. You might get a bit of mild discomfort at most, but if it's more than that, then that's not normal. Okay. So there's loads of variations on these two exercises. You can mix them up. There's lots of ways we can make them harder. We can make them more specific for fighters. We can bring the shoulders in as well. But that's a really good starting point. So if you want a basic exercise, a neck conditioning exercise, then doing 3 sets of that, the chin tuck followed by the neck bridge, that's a really good place to start. So here's a good partner drill that I like to get my fighters doing. The thing with all of these neck exercises is they're great on their own, but we need to integrate those into what people are actually doing when they're on the mat, when they're fighting. So this is the all-time best use for a head harness. You can do it with just with a head guard as well. Just you're going to put the resistance band through the back of it. Okay, which resistance band you use will depend on the level you're working at. If you've got somebody who is recovering from a neck injury, obviously you're going to need to go much lighter. If you've got someone who's got really good neck strength, then you can use quite a heavy duty band. But always start light and then work up. Yeah, so err on the side of caution with this. So what I'm going to start by doing is I'm just going to get Chris walking forwards and just keeping his chin tucked and feeling tension on the band. That's it. Walk forwards and hold, and then he's going to come back, and we're going to do that a few times. Walk back. Again, making sure that the chin's tucked in, not poking forwards. That's it. And then what I'll get him doing next is if he can move to shadowboxing. So just put a little bit of tension on the band, yeah, just moving forwards, that's it. And then I'm just going to give a gentle pull back, okay, and again just moving around a little bit, that's it. So it's having to react to that pull. Okay. And then the next one is we're going to build up towards actually shooting a double leg takedown. So I'm going to get Chris to move forwards as though he's shooting a double leg takedown. And he's just got that tension back on the band. And so again, it's working on keeping that chin tucked in. And coming back. And then as he gets more confident with that, I'm going to add a bit of a pull back. So I'm going to look to pull back on the band at what would be the moment of impact. Yeah. And then come back. A couple more. And again. And relax. And so the idea is we're getting him used to keeping that chin tuck, keeping those deep neck flexors engaged at that point. And that's what's going to help to stop the head from snapping back when it makes contact, or if the contact's at slightly unusual angle or something that he's not quite expecting. Again, we've got those muscles ready to deal with that. Thanks for watching this tutorial, and I hope you found it useful. So this is the sort of work that I do a lot of. I treat a lot of combat sports injuries, a lot of neck injuries, and all kinds of other injuries as well. You can come and see me. I have a clinic here in Solihull, or you can find me online at combatsportsclinic.net. I also have a Facebook page, Combat Sports Clinic, and I'm on Twitter, combat_clinic.